The most groundbreaking kitchen design ideas this year don't come from more expensive materials or more complex technology. They come from questioning things that people have been doing for years without anyone asking why. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 1. Kitchen zoning mindset. One of my clients just finished renovating his kitchen earlier this year. The layout followed the standard triangle that almost every kitchen design book has taught for the past 70 years. Sink, stovetop, and refrigerator forming 3 optimal points of movement. 6 months later, he called me and said something very honest. The kitchen was beautiful, but every evening, when the whole family used it at the same time, it felt cramped and inconvenient in a way no one had anticipated during the design process. The problem wasn't that the kitchen was small. The problem was that the entire space was designed for one person, while in reality, the whole family was using it simultaneously. That's precisely the weakness of the traditional kitchen triangle in modern life. This year's kitchen is no longer a place where one person stands cooking while others wait outside. It's a place where someone prepares food, someone makes coffee, children do homework on the kitchen island, and guests chat, all at the same time. When all those activities are crammed into a fixed triangle of movement, the result is constant obstruction from each other, and no one understands why. Kitchen zoning addresses this very point. Instead of optimizing the distance between 3 fixed points, the space is divided according to how the family actually lives each day. The preparation and storage area is separated from the main cooking area. The beverage preparation area has its own designated space so everyone can use it without encroaching on the food preparation area. The cleaning area around the sink is separated from the main flow of movement. When these areas are properly divided, 2 or 3 people can operate simultaneously with almost no obstruction. A notable trend in high-end projects is the secondary kitchen hidden behind the main kitchen. This area handles all the messy and complex tasks, while the main kitchen at the front remains neat, clean, and pleasant when guests are present. Even with moderately sized spaces, a simple partition or sliding door is enough to create this separation without requiring a large area. The real change isn't in the floor plan, but in the opening question. This year's best designers don't start with technical specifications. They start by observing how that family actually lives in their kitchen every day. The answer to that question is what determines what space is truly suitable. The next trend is the reason why so many stark white kitchens costing tens of thousands of dollars are starting to make homeowners feel regretful, even though they were completed less than 2 years ago. 2. Warm wood kitchens. Not every material making a comeback is for aesthetic reasons. Wood is returning to kitchens this year for a much more practical reason. Many homeowners are tired of the very kitchens they just spent a lot of money on. Not because the kitchen is ugly, but because the glossy white kitchen is too perfect, too cold, and too much like a showroom, they don't feel like spending long hours in it after a long day. Wood grain does something that paint can never do. It changes depending on the angle of light throughout the day. In the morning under natural sunlight, warm walnut looks one way. In the evening under warm lights, the same cabinets have a completely different depth and feel. It is this subtle change that makes a wood kitchen look more alive and expensive in a way that is difficult to pinpoint but very clear when viewed in real life. The most important thing when choosing wood for your kitchen this year is to steer clear of yellow and orange tones. That's exactly what made the golden oak of the 90s look outdated and caused an entire generation of homeowners to spend years trying to escape it. The current aesthetic requires neutral or slightly gray tones and matte or low-gloss surfaces and is paired with 2,700 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin lighting to maintain natural warmth without yellowing under artificial light. The biggest advantage of this trend is that you don't need to cover the entire kitchen cabinetry in wood to achieve the effect. Many current projects use cream or warm white upper cabinets paired with natural walnut or oak lower cabinets. This layering alone creates a depth that an all-white kitchen could never achieve while still maintaining a sense of spaciousness. 3. Intentional color. I've seen homeowners make this mistake enough times to be blunt. They want to add color to the kitchen, choose navy blue or deep forest green because it looks great in gallery photos, and then cover the entire kitchen with it. The result is a kitchen that looks impressive in the first week and starts to be tiresome from the 3rd month onwards. It's not the color's fault. It's the fault of using color too broadly without a control strategy. Color is making a comeback in kitchen design this year, but in a completely different way than previous trends. No longer is it about one bold color covering the entire space to make an immediate impact. Instead, color is used as a purposeful anchor point, a soft navy blue kitchen island, a row of tall, deep olive green cabinets, or a coffee corner in a warm burgundy red. Just one well-placed accent is enough to give the entire kitchen a sense of personality without being overwhelming in the long run. The reason this trend is booming is quite practical. After years of seeing countless identical-looking gray and white kitchens, many homeowners want a space that reflects their true personality. But they also don't want to make a color decision they'll regret 3 years from now. Therefore, color is used as a controlled accent rather than throughout the entire space, allowing for personality while maintaining long-term versatility. The most important thing when adding color to a kitchen isn't choosing the color itself, but choosing where to place it. A kitchen island is the safest and most effective location because it creates a clear focal point without affecting the overall space. If you want to change it after a few years, the cost of redoing a kitchen island is always much lower than redoing the entire cabinetry. A common mistake is choosing a bold color but pairing it with a cool gray wood floor or a bluish-white countertop. When the colors clash in opposite directions, the space loses its sophistication and looks much heavier than intended. This is a problem that cannot be fixed by replacing parts and must be considered before construction. But a perfect color palette can still be ruined by a small detail that the upper class is spending thousands of dollars to completely eliminate. 4. Handleless design. There's a small detail I often use to distinguish a well-designed kitchen from one that only looks good in pictures. It's how the eye moves when looking at the space. In a kitchen with dozens of repeated handles on the cabinets, the eye is drawn to a continuous stream of small details with nowhere to rest. The space looks busier than it actually is, and the sense of luxury is diluted in a way that's subtle but very noticeable when compared directly. A handleless design solves this problem perfectly. By removing all the protruding metal on the cabinets, the kitchen surfaces become a continuous flat surface, and the eye begins to read the space as an architectural whole rather than a collection of disconnected details. This is especially true in homes with open kitchens connected to the living room. The kitchen begins to blend into the living space more naturally, instead of appearing as a separate functional area. It's worth noting that this year's handleless design is a far cry from the cold, minimalist kitchens of a decade ago. Those kitchens sometimes looked more like tech showrooms than places where people truly want to live. The current version is much softer, with warm wood, natural textured stone, and gentle lighting used to balance the minimalist lines. The space remains clean and seamless, but doesn't lose its sense of intimacy. Technically, there are 2 most common systems currently available. The recessed groove system creates a horizontal groove along the top or bottom edge of the cabinet door, allowing fingers to pull it open without a protruding handle. The push and slide system allows the door to spring open with just a light press. Both have their own advantages and disadvantages, and the best choice depends more on the family's usage habits than on pure aesthetics. One practical detail that few people mention: handleless designs work best when the cabinet door is of moderate weight and the hinges are properly adjusted. With excessively heavy cabinets or cheap hinges, the push and release mechanism will lose its accuracy after a period of use and become much more inconvenient than a regular handle. This is a point that needs to be clearly discussed with the contractor before construction, not afterward. 5. Hidden appliances. Stepping into a recently completed high-end kitchen, the first thing that caught my attention wasn't the countertops or the cabinets. It was the unusual tranquility of the space. Looking around, I realized why. No refrigerator, no dishwasher, no microwave, and no array of appliances that usually occupy a workspace. Everything had completely disappeared behind what appeared to be merely decorative walls, and the kitchen looked more like a living space than a functional area. This is the biggest difference between a kitchen design with hidden appliances and a conventional kitchen design. When appliances are integrated into the same material as the surrounding cabinets, the eye isn't drawn to the gleaming metal surfaces or control screens. All attention is focused on the architecture and materials of the space, and as a result, the kitchen looks far more expensive without any added decorative elements. What truly changes the living experience isn't aesthetics but psychology. A kitchen with minimal visible elements significantly lightens the mind of its inhabitants. There aren't too many surfaces, handles, and appliances constantly distracting the eye. Everything is controlled and tidy in a way that creates a sense of tranquility that is difficult to achieve with excessive decoration. The most important technical point with this trend is to choose appliances that can be fitted with countertops before designing the cabinet system, not afterward. Many homeowners make the mistake of choosing appliances first and then having the carpenter find a way to conceal them, often resulting in mismatched countertops or cabinet doors that don't close flush with the rest of the system. The correct order is: choose appliances that can be fitted with countertops, provide the specifications to the cabinet manufacturer, and have them create matching countertops from the start. This trend is rapidly gaining popularity in homes with open kitchens connected to the living room for very practical reasons. When the kitchen emerges from the living room or dining room, too many shiny steel surfaces make the space look commercial and heavy. Using the same material for the appliances as the kitchen cabinets is the simplest way to integrate the kitchen into the living space instead of having it stand apart as a separate functional area. The next trend is changing in a direction that many homeowners initially disliked when seeing it for the first time, but almost no one goes back to the old style after actually living with it. 6. Countertops with depth. There's one detail in kitchen countertop design that I know will be controversial, but I still want to address it directly. Countertop thickness is significantly decreasing in high-end projects. And that's not because manufacturers are cutting costs. It's a deliberate aesthetic decision. The thick, heavy slabs that once felt massive and ostentatious are giving way to thinner surfaces of around 11 to 12 millimeters. And once you get used to it, many realize that this thinness actually makes the space look more sophisticated and expensive in a very European way. Alongside the thinness, the veining in the stone is also changing in the opposite direction of what dominated a few years ago. Slabs with dense, complex patterns are losing their appeal. Instead, there's a softer, more natural veining with a clear flow across the surface. When light hits it, the countertop feels almost like a living material rather than just a hard surface placed on top of cabinets. That's why quartzite and other naturally deep-textured stones are so popular this year. Another notable shift is the trend in countertop finishes from glossy to matte. Matte surfaces not only look more mature and inviting, but they also significantly reduce fingerprints, watermarks, and annoying reflections from ceiling lights. This is something many homeowners only realize after spending some time with glossy countertops, when daily cleaning becomes an unthinkable burden when choosing materials in showrooms. The most interesting aspect of this year's countertop trend is the philosophy behind it. Instead of trying to impress in the first 10 seconds a customer walks in, countertops are designed to look better the longer they're used. The subtle veins, delicate thin edges, and smooth matte surface are things no showroom showcases well under artificial lighting. Yet they make a kitchen look more expensive in the long run than any flashy stone that once dominated. 7. Lighting is the soul. There's a simple test I often recommend homeowners do before deciding on a kitchen lighting system. Turn off all ceiling lights in the evening, leaving only the light from under cabinet lights and soft accent lighting inside the open shelving. If the kitchen still feels warm and inviting under those conditions, the lighting system is working correctly. If the space immediately becomes dark and lacks depth, the problem isn't the number of lights, but how the light is positioned. This is precisely the biggest difference in kitchen lighting design this year. New high-end kitchens aren't adding extra lights. They're reducing the feeling of overt lighting. Instead of a multitude of recessed lights covering the entire ceiling, the light is hidden within the kitchen's architecture. Under-cabinet lighting is softly reflected onto the wall behind the counter. Inside drawers, lights turn on automatically when opened. Open shelving provides soft illumination behind the glassware and countertops. All these details combine to create depth without requiring excessive light intensity. The real change isn't in the technology, but in the approach. Many designers today are starting to think about kitchen lighting the way boutique hotels design their reception areas. Lighting is no longer just for visibility while cooking. It has to evoke a changing mood throughout the day. Mornings can be brighter and fresher. In the evening, a slight dimming reveals the texture of the wood grain and the softer lines of the stone, and the entire kitchen almost completely transforms its feel without changing anything. Warm lighting is making a strong comeback after years of cold white light dominating. A color temperature of 2,700 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin, with a color rendering index of 90 or higher, is the minimum standard for kitchens with natural materials. Too much white light makes the wood lose its warmth, the stone loses its depth, and everything you've invested in looks significantly dimmer than it actually is. 8. Hidden storage and secret spaces. The first time I stepped into a kitchen designed in this style, it took me almost a minute to understand why it felt so different. No coffee maker, no blender, no microwave, or the usual array of appliances that would take up a whole surface. Just continuous flat surfaces of cabinets and an almost inexplicable sense of tranquility. Then the homeowner lightly touched a spot on the wall, and a complete coffee-making nook with recessed lighting and pull-out shelves appeared behind it. That's when I understood this trend wasn't about hiding things. It was about controlling the emotional impact of the space. When what the human eye sees is minimized, the brain automatically feels lighter. This isn't design theory, but a very real psychological reaction. A kitchen with fewer visible items creates a sense of control and tranquility that a busy space can never achieve, no matter how expensive the materials. Hidden sliding doors are becoming the most popular solution in high-end projects. With just a slight opening, a complete coffee-making area can be revealed behind it, complete with recessed lighting, pull-out shelves, and neatly concealed appliances. When finished, everything closes, and the kitchen returns to its minimalist state. Hidden revolving doors are also increasingly common, transforming a seemingly decorative wall into a preparation area or storage space behind it. A key technical point to note is that this system requires early planning of electrical and engineering systems during the design process. It cannot be added after the wall is finished without demolition and reconstruction. This is something that needs to be included in the drawings from the initial stages, not decided at the last minute when the construction is nearing completion. A beautiful kitchen for guests to look at is not enough. True luxury lies in an invisible hidden corner that saves you 10 busy minutes every morning. 9. Premium organization. I worked with a family last year whose case perfectly illustrates this problem. They had a pretty nice kitchen, good cabinets, nice countertops, and decent lighting. But every morning it took them 7 to 8 minutes just to find the right thing for breakfast. Coffee in one place, the coffee maker in another, and the cups in a third drawer. There's nothing technically wrong with that. It's just that the entire storage system was designed according to the standard configuration of the cabinet manufacturer, not according to how that family actually lives every day. That's precisely the difference between conventional storage and sophisticated organization. Conventional storage asks, is there enough space? Sophisticated organization asks, is everything in the right place where the user will naturally reach it? The answer to that question leads to very different design decisions. A family of 2 who drink coffee every morning needs everything within easy reach at a height that suits their morning routine. A family with 3 school-aged children needs easily accessible snack storage and a place to keep prepared meals from the night before. 2 cabinet designs might look identical from the outside, but they function completely differently in real life. This year's top designers are starting by observing the family's real-life habits before designing any drawers or cabinets. Who wakes up earliest, and what's their first thing to do? What's used daily, and what's only used on weekends? Which areas get cluttered the most, and why? The answers to those questions are what determine whether the organization truly improves quality of life or simply provides more storage space. A kitchen organized according to the family's lifestyle will make each morning a little easier to walk into, and that feeling accumulates over time in a way no beautiful countertop can. The 9 trends in this video all point toward the same goal, making the kitchen more livable, not just more beautiful. If you only remember one thing, remember this. The most beautiful kitchen is the one you still love 10 years from now, not the one that impressed you the most in the first week.